Another day, another UFC drama. The man of the hour this time, Francis Ngannou. Yup, the Predator has been stripped of his title as the heavyweight champion.
New undisputed UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Francis.
And is no longer part of the UFC, and he's leaving behind a trail of mixed opinions in his wake. But why is Ngannou leaving in the first place? The entire world of MMA is in shock, so much so that fans are even coming up with theories to explain this sudden decision. Finally, the former champion came out with a video on YouTube to clear up the air, and also address the comments made by UFC President Dana White regarding his exit. As it turns out, the strict contracts were too restricting for him. The 36-year-old felt suffocated and that he was losing his freedom. He said that the rigidity of the promotion's rules were too much for him. According to Ngannou, he put forward some terms for the Las Vegas-based promotion, but none of his terms were met, like the right of a sponsorship, health insurance, or a fighter advocate. He couldn't have anything he asked for. The promotion wasn't even letting him pursue and navigate his career the way he wanted to. He was not free, and the UFC had complete control over him. Seeing the way they abused this power, he didn't want to be on the receiving end of it anymore. Talk about being toxic. He was clearly fed up, because according to Dana, he even turned down an offer that would have made him the highest-earning heavyweight fighter in UFC history. That's huge. But then again, Dana isn't really the best source in this case, especially since the president hasn't really had the best things to say about him. White took up this opportunity to disrespect the UFC legend. He said that Ngannou was getting old and was trying to avoid taking risks. However, he was ridiculed for suggesting that the former champion was afraid of fighting due to his bad knee. Ngannou addressed Dana's claims on YouTube, saying the whole notion of him avoiding a fight with Jon Jones was hilarious, especially since he was the one so intent on making it happen in the first place. He said that he's been waiting for the fight to take place for over 2 years, and has been fighting guys with one knee in the meantime. Now that he's in better condition, it doesn't make sense that he would be more afraid, does it? Not gonna lie, Dana's comments seem pretty baseless. Not to mention, he seems to be pretty bitter about the whole situation. He had his champion turn down a huge offer and walk away. That probably doesn't happen very often, especially not for the big boss. You know what really rubs salt in the wound? The fact that it hasn't even been long since Ngannou left, and there's already a long line of promoters ready to take him under their wing. That's no surprise though, since Ngannou is the most powerful puncher in UFC history.
McMahon's phone to try to get a matchup with Ngannou. Down goes the Reeve. Francis Ngannou has arrived.
White even commented that getting hit by Ngannou's punch was like being slammed by a Ford Escort. Who'd like to be on the receiving end of that? But I'm wondering, what's next for the Cameroonian? Well, Ngannou has a long list of possible pursuits. The lineup has already begun. One of them is Bellator MMA, who will be sprinting to get Francis's attention. While speaking to Insider, Showtime Sports president Steven Espinosa confirmed that Bellator was definitely interested in bringing the heavy-hitting heavyweight into its roster. They have a pretty great advantage too. Premium US network Showtime has a wide-set sports portfolio, as it airs young and emerging boxing talents via its ShowBox property, has elite boxers, and also broadcasts Bellator's MMA events. Eager to snatch up the 36-year-old, the president has already stated that his platform can offer great flexibility in his routine. I mean, who would miss the UFC with that offer? He'd have a chance to sign a multi-fight, multi-year deal to compete in MMA, while dipping in and out of boxing whenever he wants against Showtime's heavyweights like the popular prizefighter Deontay Wilder. Besides that, there have been plenty of fighters calling out for the heavyweight champion to step into the ring with them. It's like all the wolves have come out of their hides to circle their prey. But in this case, is Ngannou really the prey? Or the predator? You gotta agree, the wordplay was amazing. It seems like Ngannou has his hands full of potential opponents, especially as Tyson Fury
Even than we hoped. Better. Wow. Sensational. A minute 10 into round number 11.
Who would know it would go like this?
Dillian Whyte, and more approach him. The English boxing heavyweight champion, Tyson Fury, has expressed his interest in the UFC champion for a boxing match. In an interview with Seconds Out, Fury called out to Ngannou and suggested a big fight and a chance to earn some big boy money. With Mike Tyson as the referee, the Gypsy King promised the Predator an amazing fight. He's not the only one making promises though. 35-year-old boxer Dillian Whyte has also proposed a boxing match with former UFC kingpin Francis Ngannou.
He's fighting at range. Arlovsky fires, just misses. Ngannou comes over the top of the left and boom, beautiful follow-up to his counter with that right hand.
But he seems to be getting a bit ahead of himself. Whyte stated even though Ngannou was the champion and a dangerous opponent, he thinks he would bash him up. He also believes it would be a very interesting fight because they both have a martial arts background, and since the heavyweight had been wanting to participate in a boxing match, he'd be the perfect person to step in the ring with. It would also be great for publicity. Whyte has suggested both an MMA as well as a boxing match.
Everything tonight. Usyk or Joyce might be next for Tyson Fury, but must be so much respect in there. There are boos around the stadium, but I really cannot understand that.
Saying it would be good to become a champion across two sports, something he's wanted to do as well. Well, Ngannou isn't known as the Predator for nothing. So who will have the honor of being the opponent for Ngannou's boxing debut? Well, this is where Derek Chisora steps in. Even though a fight with Tyson Fury has been in the works for a couple of years, it seems like the boxing newbie needs a little warm-up before things get too intense. Here enters Kale Sauerland, promoter of Wasserman Boxing, who's ready to sign Ngannou for a crossover fight with Chisora. While talking to pro boxing fans, Sauerland mentioned that he thinks Ngannou would fit perfectly into their crossover stuff, including Misfits. He suggested a big fight with Derek Chisora, but he can get in line, even though he's aware of the fact that several people are hounding him at the moment. Sauerland is under the impression that he can offer Ngannou something unique and different, even though Ngannou's release from the UFC has opened up a plethora of opportunities for him. It has also angered a lot of people. Joe Rogan weighs in on the situation. Ngannou was undoubtedly a big deal in the UFC since his absence has left a gaping hole in the title of the champion. UFC commentator Joe Rogan thinks his exit will lead to fans being deprived of some of the best top heavyweight fights. Just goes on to show how impactful Ngannou was. His release continues to send shockwaves around the sports community. Even his opponent-to-be, John Jones, has empathized with Ngannou's decision against the UFC's hard stance. The Ngannou vs. Jones fight was expected to be one of the biggest fights in the promotion's history, so it's no surprise that Rogan feels the fight falling through is one of the UFC's biggest tragedies. While discussing the situation in a recent episode of his podcast, Rogan explained why Ngannou's UFC separation exasperates him. He stated that he was incredibly bummed out by the whole thing. It didn't seem right, Ngannou not being the champion, even though he suspects some of it included the fact that the former champ wants to get into boxing. He's still infuriated that they were deprived of one of the most compelling fights in MMA. The aftermath of his UFC separation is still very new, with many disappointed with the fact that the best heavyweight in the world is no longer holding the belt.
And leave these big openings.
Knockdown for Ngannou. See back to his feet, eats another uppercut. Nice counter right from the chest. Who's knocked down and out? Francis Ngannou.
That's all from our side about the latest UFC drama. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.